Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Word from the Shed. Perhaps like you, I've been quite perturbed by all that's been happening after the tragic death of George Floyd, and I'm trying to think out what is a good Christian response to all this. How should we as individuals react to it? There's a little bit of scripture well known to many of us in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, that lovely passage about love, often read at weddings and for very good reason. And in the middle of that, there's a little line that says, "Love keeps no record of wrongs." Now, just put that in the back of our minds for a minute, and just to talk a little bit about identity politics, which I think is the source of many of these demonstrations. Now, identity politics is described as being based on shared experiences of perceived injustice towards members of various social groups. And it's not organized around a particular worldview, philosophy, religion or political party, but rather around group identity and advocacy for perceived injustice towards minority groups. Now, the sentiment and sometimes the cause is very worthy, but the methods are commonly not. And I often wonder why not. I conclude that those who identify themselves with this movement have no commonly held values to underpin their quest for justice. Justice can be anything they want it to be. They are the children of postmodernism. Their driving force is grievance, and their moral arguments are wanting. Now, postmodernism is a movement that seeks to deconstruct, if you like, everything that's built our civilization, to deconstruct our religious faith, to deconstruct our politics, to deconstruct our history, to deconstruct our values and our philosophies, and then to pick and mix from all the different philosophies or religions that are around and put them together to produce something that we might like the sound of. But it doesn't lead to a coherent underpinning of our society. And so I think many young people are children of postmodernism. Now, the other thing I just want to think about a little bit is grievance, because that's all tied up with it. Grievance politics, sometimes people call it. Now, grievance is described as a wrong considered as grounds for complaint. But there's another meaning of the word, which is some dictionaries now say is obsolete. It's not in my head, and it's the act of inflicting a wrong. And a grievance is also something that causes grievance. And we've all suffered, every one of us, grievance. And we've all caused grief. Many of us carry griefs and grievances from our upbringing that define us today. And if not resolved, they become our identity, and we can seek relief from them in anger and resentment, unforgiveness, or at its worst, violence and self-harm. But the Bible's message is that this is not the way. Love keeps no record of wrongs. The truth is that none of us can change another person, but we can change ourselves. Anyone who has had the privilege of a long-term marriage can tell you that. Many millions have found in Christ a person who helps them to change. A little exercise might be to read 1 Corinthians 13 verses 4 to 7 and compare our lives to it. Let me read it for you. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Well, I don't know how you measure up to that, but I don't measure up to it very well. Now continue the exercise and read it again and compare the life of Jesus to what's written there. I think we might find there's a contrast. It's very difficult to point the finger at Jesus. So how do we get to the point where we personally can keep no record of wrongs? Well, one way is to look at the cross, where God's grievances against us were justified in the death of his Son. See, we bring so much grief to God by our behaviour, don't we? If we bring it to one another, we must surely bring it to God. So there's always a price for that. Jesus himself paid it, the Son of God, on the cross on our behalf. And then also the other thing that happened was justice and love came together. As Jesus died, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And divine love was released into the world as Jesus paid for our wrongdoing and the grief that we've caused our Father in heaven. So God's record of our wrongs is no longer held against us. The grief that so easily defines us begins to lose its grip on us as we receive his forgiveness and mercy and a new identity. So here is a place where grievances are fixed, hearts are healed, and a new beginning is made. Each has to come personally to this place to receive his or her freedom and to take on that new identity, that of Christ himself. Here the grief that so easily defines us and directs our lives begins to lose its grip on us. Here is a new mantle laid upon us by which we are ever more identified. Colossians chapter 3 and verse 3, Paul tells the followers of Jesus, "Your life is now hidden with Christ in God." What a wonderful identity. Well, thanks for watching, and a particular thanks to all those who've taken the risk of subscribing to this channel. We're getting on towards 100, at the point where I can begin to make use of some real improvements to it. So if you'd like to join us, please do click the subscribe button just below the video. I'd be very grateful. And I can assure you that by subscribing you're not charged anything, and you are anonymous even to me, unless of course you choose to tell me. I put some helpful links in the description box below if you want to make use of them. And the last thing to say is that Ali and I are going to have a break for a week, so there will be no video next week, but we look forward to getting one out to you the week after. So God bless you, and bye for now.